Good, how about you?
Hey, how long do these normally take? The hearing's gonna be pretty long, you think?
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm gonna go outside and work, but.
no, I think it'll be pretty quick.
Alright.
feel about this? Me reusing the envelope.
I celebrate it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That could be my envelope forever. Until it falls apart, if it does, yeah.
No, this is a good thing.
I'm way into that.
Yeah.
And I don't need all those clips either, those are,
Right,
you know.
so we'll, right, oh, yep,
Oh, am I in the right spot?
you are. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
Reuse.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, good.
So, we're live.
So after, what?
Just so you know, we're live.
Right now?
Yeah.
So we're on TV now?
Mm-hmm.
It's being broadcast? On,
194. And then
yeah, oh,
we
so,
just
on,
decided.
cable?
Yeah.
So it comes on before the meeting even starts?
I had just started it.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, well, so it's different for me to be here on this side of the bar.
Have you been on this commission before?
No.
No, no.
I've always been on that side.
Yeah, well,
And this is tonight's stuff. Thank you for that stuff. I was able to look at all that stuff, although, no, is this something else? Oh, no, 28 South Main, yeah.
yeah, the commission hadn't received a copy of that before. So, hello.
Hey, George. Hey, Willie.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Hello.
Get involved.
No.
Troy's called me. Couldn't make it tonight.
Oh, no. Everything okay with his hand?
Pardon me?
Is everything okay with his hand?
Oh, it's getting better, but he had a
Good.
conflict there. So
Yeah.
I was just saying to Pam, I'm not used to being on this side.
yeah, no kidding.
Weird. Hey, Pete.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you? I'm good. Well,
How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Well, your wife's home with your car.
Yeah.
I just met her on Boyd Street. I just met her on Boyd Street.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. She was going up through.
Oh. Yeah, cousin's out in California, so I
Huh?
called.
Oh, yeah.
So we went to dinner, and I said, I called Craig, and he says, I got all about it. He said, I'll have to work something out,
We'll make it work.
Uber or something.
We'll make it work one way or another.
Thanks for reminding me. I called your office today and got your assistant.
No, so I have a motion to, and we're alive, just so you know, a motion to amend the agenda if you're interested in taking that last business up first.
That's what I had left a message, so, but
Okay,
I
so
wanted you
gave
to
it-
talk with them to see if they, sometimes they get something like that, they don't show up until later in the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I expected they'll be here soon, quick something, but,
Too much paper.
I don't know if it's too soon, but Michael's been appointed as a permanent hire. So I don't know if you, under other business, you want to appoint him as another zoning person.
Oh, I see.
You know, between Mark and I, we're training him to make sure, you know, he wouldn't, I presume, automatically start signing things,
Yeah,
but,
what-
you know, if he,
What's his name, John?
Michael Stenhouse.
How do you spell it?
Back from vacation, huh?
S-T-A-N-K-H-O-U-S. N-K-O-V.
That's good. You can spell it, I'll just.
Yeah, all you have to do is say it.
Yeah, that's right. Just make it up. I love these mess. Can't, my glasses fogged up, but
I know, that is kind of an
It's
issue.
tough.
The
I have a
glasses
master
fogging
bed.
up. They're gonna see us all with fog.
I have trouble talking with it on.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
of course, it's a muffler.
it shuts me right up.
That, I guess.
supposed to be for drinking, reading, we can take the mask off.
Yeah, you have to get a little straw that goes in there over your ear.
IV.
Yeah, right, IV.
Get a warning this week there.
This is interesting.
I guess so.
Watch it before I
We're
left.
gonna make up for what we didn't get
Yeah.
in July.
Yeah.
I presumed it was gonna be something down the
Well,
road.
after Friday, it looks
Shorter
good.
time than I expected.
Nice low 80s.
Maybe they did it,
Plus
did
humid,
did
so.
it this way just
For
so
what?
they could
For us, the weather.
not have to.
For
devote
tomorrow?
No, after Friday, I said.
Oh, after Friday,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Say,
And all
we
next
have
week.
plans.
Looks good. No.
Yes.
So you know,
It's
good,
just
how
getting,
accurate
it's just
it is.
getting to Friday.
Oh, I
Oh, I
got through
know.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 3 days, it looks like.
They
now.
haven't even got it, that's what they're here for, is those only compliance.
have your green cards? Or your white cards, I should say?
They can just,
Yep,
that thing's on the back.
Yep, thank you. Kim, I don't see them, but maybe you'll know if they're not here, they can.
It's the hair.
Yeah, I think.
It's,
And the mask.
well, that's right, but I think mostly the COVID hair. I've gone on natural. That's happened a lot. Between the mask and the hair, they're like,
Yeah,
I think I know her,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
not sure.
We know, George is coming.
She's on the agenda because she has a for continuance. Yeah, like it's printed online, I have only one copy, but it's never, it's the first one.
Call worse come worse, I'll fold, if I can't fold them in
But I
half,
think
you
they're
get them in the front, I'll put them in the back.
okay,
Put them in the back of the truck.
do what you gotta do. right?
That's it, hey, you know. I said, I'll come up and get you. No, Ruth will bring me down. That's okay.
Just put the tailgate down.
Yeah. Have him sit on it. Yeah. He's tall enough, he can flop right down. Yep, I hear him coming. Jeez. Squeaky wheels.
Yeah. At least he can still move. At least he can still move.
Yeah, I
around.
know.
Yeah.
God bless him. Keep fighting.
Where's he sit? Oh, over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who sits here?
John Cooney.
John Cooley.
Well, that's good, you have plenty of members here, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the first time out, I'd be like, oh, really? I don't know enough.
Anybody hit those geese up there by you yet? Standing in the road all day?
Fox got one.
Did it?
Yeah. There was goose parts everywhere.
Oh, really?
Had plenty to eat.
From before the police boat, down to my house, and then up my driveway, up and back.
Carried it up and back.
Yeah, there was goose parts.
Feathers everywhere.
The whole Wakefield Boulevard is covered in feathers.
Oh,
When, Will? When? The other day?
About Wednesday,
Ah,
Tuesday or Wednesday.
I was through there a couple times over the weekend and they were still out there.
Oh, they just get right out there and stand in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. There's John.
Hey, John.
Yep.
This is great.
Yep.
They have no fear.
No. I kept edging up to him and my wife was screaming and every time and she could have hit him and I said, Lily, to get out of the way.
Oh, no.
Go under the car, so one or the other.
There'll be,
Yep.
the guard will stand right there.
Yep.
I,
John?
No, Shirley, John.
Hi, John.
John. New name on the commission.
So,
Kiss the ring too?
Hey, look out, how your designated drivers.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's probably
it's the community law.
Yeah, that's the control for the camera. That one up there, by the door, that's a She'll always
It's my
sit there.
first time on this side. I was always on
Controls
that
for us,
side.
you can turn it, zoom in. You good?
Shut up this year.
Yeah.
I've been good in a lot of years.
Yep, very different.
I'm not getting friendly.
It's a good commission. You gotta get
I'm just pulling.
Good.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah, I know, which is how I got on as an alternate.
Do what you gotta do there. huh? So, we're in no rush, that's for sure.
At least you got here, let's see.
Yep.
I've taken a lot of pictures of Main Street, but the outline here, I didn't get the far west end.
I don't mean to impose, but my wife has cataracts,
That's no imposition.
and if she goes at night,
Nope.
she has a hard time driving.
Hey, I'm starting to get them too, so.
Catch something.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
She won't go, because of my situation, she won't go anywhere for,
They just started last year, yeah. In fact, I just was the eye doctor last week, my yearly checkup.
Take more
Yep.
pictures than
so
necessary.
not, get you sorted out.
That'd be great.
And,
Yep.
Up the health center.
I got the whole life story. I didn't know he did that.
I am,
I know, you can't
I am.
afford it.
I feel every bit of it, so.
Yeah, that'd be good. I did, you know,
I gotta
kind
keep
of the
moving.
easy part.
I won't take too much time.
You still doing your, lawn thing, or your?
Mowing fields with the
Excavator?
tractor. No, just mowing some fields with the tractor, that's it.
Yeah.
Cutting wood myself.
Well, Craig gets situated, everything, you're all set to go? Okay.
You want these back or no?
Oh, wait.
After the meeting. I'll give it to her.
I got a couple of things.
Recycling.
Set it
We're
down.
trying to teach the town how to do this.
Good luck, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna put you to work already.
Unanimous.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Everybody ready? Okay, 7:03, start the August 9th Planning and Zoning regular meeting. Just go through the roll for us. Want to just call Pam for me?
Sure, George Clausen's here, Craig Sandon,
Here.
Pete Marchand,
Present?
John Cooney,
Here.
Willie Platt,
Here.
Shirley LaVoy,
Here,
Troy Lemire is absent excused.
Thank you. Under agenda review, we've got a number of public hearings tonight. I wonder if we could get a motion to move,
I'll make a motion to amend our
yet to take.
agenda and to take up other business add public hearings, which will be A, discuss with Phil Doyle, 380 South Main Street, and B, PZZ 20-505, 2210 St. Andrew Road, temporary CO stop.
We have a second for that?
Second.
Willie? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Just want to welcome Charlene LaVoy to our commission. She's a new alternate.
I didn't hear you.
Everybody's in disguise, right? Anyways, just as we go through tonight with all our public hearings and so forth, everybody has an opportunity to discuss public hearing issues until we close the public hearing, and then it's gonna be the seated people. So we'll do that, just so we get everybody's input appropriately. Okay, is somebody here for Phil?
I don't see the,
All
no,
right.
not yet.
All right, let's take 10D, PZC 20-05, 210 St. Ange Road, temporary CO sought, bond discussion. You want to tell us what's going on, Tony?
Yeah,
Just identify yourself for the tape.
Tony Montori, our installation. Trying to get a CO, have a few things that aren't finished, some light posts in the parking lot because of the availability of them. I do have them now, they should be in the next 2 weeks, but I'm trying to get the CO on Wednesday. And, another little area of some, grass needs to be planted in a small little area because Eversource has to take it back up to run a gas line. So we're trying to see if I can get a bond or something for those 2 areas.
many pole bases?
Four?
4. Those are those 2 items?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Pam, did you, we had,
I didn't, just as he stood up, all of a sudden, if I looked like a deer in the headlights, I hadn't looked. I'm checking right now. Tony, do you remember what month your approval was granted?
I know, maybe October or something?
I think it was actually April. I just Googled it. Let me see.
seems to me we brought this up about the, it was the dumpster enclosure was the question,
Yeah, I
Tony?
think the dumpsters, we good with that, there's no dumpster pad.
Well, that's, I think I recall the conversation that you indicated that you're gonna have no trash barrels or anything outside.
Right.
Everything's gonna be inside your building.
Yeah, if there is even any, usually it goes in the truck at a job. and
From the
it's
job,
dumped.
too.
Yeah.
Because our procedures are, if you are in fact gonna put a container out there, we need a complete enclosure, including gate, it's gotta be a minimum of 6 feet high.
Right, yeah, no
So
dumpster,
you're not gonna have any of that.
no.
All right. Seems to me, I remember vaguely, I didn't have a chance to track the original back. Anyways, so what Tony's talking about, he's got the poles. I know projects that I've been working on in the last 6 or 7 months, it's hard to get anything.
Yeah, you're running into that with everything, with equipment, parts, everything.
Yeah, so I did go out there over the weekend and take a look at what's gone on over there. It's all paved and striped.
Yeah, I looked at it
Building
today.
looks good, landscaping. And what Tony brought up is a fact. It's got, the natural gas is gonna be brought in. I don't have a problem with it. I think that we should come up with a dollar amount for a bond in case something else gets delayed, so that I'd like to be consistent with regards to this.
4 light poles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And some seating, so I don't know, that seating was
The
a few
seating, the
$100s.
landscape guy said was $600.
$600,
Which I
okay.
think I gave you, Pam, did I give that to you, his bill, and it had on it what?
Yeah, I saw it.
14,000, and he said 600.
Yeah, I don't know if I get a copy of it, but,
I'll get it for you.
yeah, and the shrubs are in,
Shrubs are in.
Yeah.
so it's really just the light
The
poles.
light pole bases, the light poles are there on the site.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any problem just approving a bond placement so that he can get his CO.
Right.
And then we'll,
What's your suggestion for a dollar amount?
probably a pole base, I don't know, probably $750 a base.
Whatever.
Okay. So we're talking about $3,000, so $3,600
Cash bond,
bond, yeah.
right, and then you get that back as soon as
Yeah.
it's in.
I'll make a motion that we approve the temporary CO, or ask for a temporary CO to be issued, and approve a bond in dollar amount of $3,600.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Is a temporary CO, you got, is that what you're looking for?
I'm trying to get the CO.
The CO, yeah, well, typically, if you put a bond in place, then you would be eligible to get a CO, so you can occupy.
Okay.
So
The
if you-
CO, I'll amend that to a CO.
Okay,
Yep.
great, you second it?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Is there a time frame on that? In other words, I get the materials are hard to
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
but is there ever any kind of
That's a-
time frame?
that's a
Or the
good
bond
point.
takes care of all
When
that?
it's a temporary CO, there's usually an expiration for it. If it's,
If it's a permanent CO, then
Then-
there isn't any.
Nope.
It's gotta sit there, I know
So
I do.
it's possible that it would
It-
never happen.
Yeah,
we've got bonds sitting there 10,
Yeah.
12 years old.
It's gonna be done within probably another week.
yeah, but just, that's part of the procedure is,
Yeah.
it's a good point. I've seen other bonds sit there for 10 or 15 years because sometimes it's cheaper to not do it and let the bond pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Any other
6 months,
discussion?
if he says a week, 6 months is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which brings you to February 2022?
Yep.
True.
You can put a month, I don't care.
Okay. Any other discussion from the commission? Okay, all seated members, all in favor? Any nobody's opposing it. So that's, Pamela, you just talk with her tomorrow and give her whatever paperwork you need and then follow up with that.
Okay.
Because this is this Wednesday, I needed to get it
Yeah,
done by.
Mark and Steve are coming in, I think at 9 o'clock or something.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
okay.
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, without Phil being here, we will proceed with our normal schedule.
So before you open the public hearing on 351 North Main Street, I
Yeah.
don't see the applicant here, but I do see neighbors. So you could open it and take testimony and then, but just.
Continue it.
Yeah, they were, you recall they were gonna submit a site plan. There were some open items and I don't think they have them completed yet.
Pam, how's our time on this? This has been open for some time.
No, we've had time.
Okay, all right, so we're paying attention.
Yep.
All right, so we need a motion to reopen public hearing, PZC number 21-03, special permit, location 351 North Main, applicant owner Hedgegrove Properties LLC, proposal convert mixed-use building to two-family. We have a motion? Peter said, do we have a second? Craig? Any discussion? All in favor? All right, so we will continue this hearing. Who, is someone here in the audience with regards to, yes, ma'am. If you'd just identify yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Kim Gilbert. I live at 11 Brook Street. 11 Brook Street.
Okay.
And what we're bringing up is just the last time we were here with the representative from the property, she had mentioned that there was going to be, of course, parking for this two-family house. And what we see is that all the parking is taken up by, it looks like a used car lot. There's a gentleman that parks all his trucks there, and he doesn't own it. So, we have pictures of it, but and I can pass the pictures around, but it's basically, we wanted to know what's happening with that, if anything is happening with that. Because I know that they wanted the, parking for this two-family
Mhm.
property, or what they wanted it to be two-family.
Yes. Unfortunately, they haven't submitted follow-up paperwork, and they're not here tonight.
Yeah,
But we want to get whatever comments you have with regards to your concerns.
okay,
We get it on a record.
Yeah.
We've got a letter from Bill Lemoyne from the car wash as well. We'll enter that into the record as well tonight.
can I submit photos?
Oh, yes.
Over there today and looked at it.
Oh, I did too, I printed it.
I went over this afternoon.
So, if you want the commission to have copies, otherwise, if you want to submit the digital copy, I can email them.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Can absolutely to
Okay.
your email, or?
please.
Okay.
And then, just,
Then you can distribute it.
Right.
That's good. Thank
Yep.
you.
mhm.
Okay, yeah, that's our big concern at this point, just that it's being used, so how is there gonna be parking for what you're talking about?
Okay, all right, thank you. Anybody else here in the audience with regards to this 351 North Main Street? Yes, Lynn.
Yeah, I'm Linda Bravo, but I was going to refer to 351 and 28 South, so maybe I should do both at one time.
No, we'll take that individually if you don't mind. Just if you've got something on 351.
Well, it was together. It was going to be together.
This one is staying open.
Okay, so what about 28
We'll be taking that up,
tonight as well?
yes.
Okay, it's together, it's my feelings for both, so I'll wait till 28 comes up as well.
All right, okay, thank you. Anybody else with regards to the 351 North Main Street? Again, there's a letter that came in from Bill Lemoyne, so we should enter that into the record, if you could, please. All right, can we have a motion to continue this public hearing to the 23rd?
I so move.
And the 23rd has got our public hearing for our POCD, so I don't know how that's gonna fit, but want to move it to the 23rd and try that?
Move.
Yes. I'll second it.
Peter second. Any discussion? All in favor of that? We're continuing? Okay, we're all in favor. Thank you. Okay. This is the first the opening of this special permit for 21-04. So this is PZC 21-04, location 220 East Lake Street, applicant owner Eric Richard, proposal zone change, zoning regulation change, and a text amendment, marina accessory use. Can you just tell us what the
I'll read the
notice is?
legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, August 9th, 2021 at 7 PM in the Pete Francis Hicks Room of Town Hall, 338 Main Street, Winston, for the following application. Location, 220 East Lake Street, applicant Eric Richard, zone change from Highland Lake District to Highland Lake Business District. Text change, add marina accessory use to Highland Lake Business District. Interested persons are invited to appear and be heard, and written communications will be received on the proposed document. Copies of both documents are on file for public inspection in the town clerk's office and online at the town's website on the planning and development page under the town department's heading. Call the Planning and Community Development Office at 860-738-6593 for more information. Dated at Winchester, Connecticut, this 15th day of July 2021. George Clausen, Chairman. It was published in the Republican American on July 26th and August 2nd. And the Commission's been provided with a red line version of where the use would be included under the Highland Lake Business District, and the definition as proposed by the applicant would be included under the glossary of terms and definitions. It was provided to you in its form that was included in the application. It's, you know, if you want to open it up.
Okay. And you got copies of notice to butters and so forth?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yes.
Okay. You're on. If you just introduce yourself and then just explain the reasoning behind your request, please.
Sure. I'm Eric Richard, and there's a two-family house that I bought right next to the
Excuse me for a second. George,
Yes.
I'd like to just say that I'm a property owner on Highland Lake. I'm on the Highland Lake Watershed Association Board of Directors. And do you have a problem with me sitting in on this? No. Okay.
Thank you.
So I just bought a two-family house that has a large garage in back. So the garage in back is something that I would like to use for, maybe put a boat lift in there, just for storage or something else. So I wanted to make it part of the marina, but it doesn't fall, there is no special permitted use other than marina that I can put this in. So I wanted to add text that says, I have a two-family house and a garage. What can I do to make it part of the marina? So we kind of came up with, I did some research and found a county in Florida that has this same text. And so I just kind of copied and used that and fit into what I needed, so it's kind of what I'm proposing.
Okay. What's your plan for the two-family house?
Two-family house will probably stay, and my concern is the garage in back. It's just sitting there, it's a good-sized garage, and I just want to put some boat lifts or docks in it to store. And the proper way to do it is to get it as part of the marina rather than,
How would this request, how would you utilize the waterfront as part of that house?
the waterfront goes with the two-family
I
house.
understand.
Oh, okay.
But if you changed it to the Highland Lake Business District, then it'd abut your current marina. So how would you thinking in terms of any modification of your waterfront?
Possibly, but that's already Highland Lake Business District. The waterfront's already business district. I'm not asking for a change to that, it's just across the street. The waterfront's already its own business district. It's just across the street that's just Highland Lake residential.
Okay, so the follow-up to that is, do you have any anticipation of expanding your dock arrangement?
Not at this point, but I assume maybe someday it might happen. At this point, I'm kind of keeping it with the house. Yeah, I could someday do something.
Which would require, again, a revisit to this commission with regards to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just the terminology in your written description of changing the terms. Marine accessory, normal fuel and lubricants, marine supplies, boats, boat motors, boat parts, restaurant or refreshment facility. Which restaurant is something you can do on in your current Highland Lake Business District as a special permit. Or refreshment facility, boat rental, minor boat rigging and motor repair, dock and boat lift sales, dock build and repair, boat lift building and repair, boat storage, boat lift and dock inventory storage, single-family dwelling, two-family dwelling, accessory apartments.
It's a lot.
Well,
Boat rental, George?
yeah.
That means you have boats there, if you're gonna rent them.
Right.
Some
yeah,
inventory of boats to rent, right?
Right.
Is there enough space? I'm not, I'm trying to think, where is that property?
It's immediately adjacent to the marina property, next to where the little restaurant was that was taken down.
Oh, it's next to that?
It's toward the old Bruno's one.
Okay, so it's further, it's
adjacent.
east of the,
It's
where the
east.
little restaurant was.
So just a point of clarification, you're not approving the use for this property. You're approving the
The zone
change of
change.
zone and then the change of the zoning regs. But it would still require him to return with an application for this use, which would likely be a mixed use, well, unless you're gonna approve it exactly as written.
Well,
But, you know, all he's applying for is that the zone gets changed to Highland Lake Business District.
Yeah, not that his,
Is-
that he get that
Yeah, not that
permission
this
to
parcel
change.
is,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's incorrect, totally.
is it?
Yeah, because number 3 on the list that you provided to us,
That,
to add marine accessory as an approved use by special exception to the Highland Lake Business District. And a special exception is a ZBA terminology. It's not a special permit.
the terms are interchangeable. I mean, I might have, if my draft motion is wrong, then I apologize, but it's not, you're not considering the use for this parcel.
Okay, but that's in that.
Yep. And that's the applicant's understanding too.
All right. So the terminology in the glossary is as I just read. That's the proposal for the text. All right. Well, let's see what we have from the audience, if there's anybody here that would like to speak to this issue. But before do you have anything more you want to add to what you're proposing? You've described it, but if you had some other thoughts.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to cover
Okay,
everything
Alright.
that might be done in the future, or.
okay, all right. Before we take from the public, this was advertised to the COG and to adjoining communities. We have any responses?
I sent it to the COG just because I'm so used to doing that. But Janelle, it wasn't Janelle, it was Jocelyn. Janelle is another staff person. Jocelyn had indicated that it actually didn't even need to go to them because it's not within 500 feet of another community. But that's neither here nor there. They had no
comment.
objection to it.
Okay,
I would just mention that, you know, I understand what he might have been trying to accomplish, but the use of the residential component of this, if he were to return, I think what he'd be looking for is a mixed use for two-family is one use, and then that back building would be the marina accessory. So when you're considering this, I would make the recommendation that you omit the last residential components of this definition, because it doesn't really.
okay. All right, before we listen to the comments from the commissioners, do we have anybody here tonight from the audience that would like to speak to this application? Yes.
Candy Perez, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard. I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm speaking as a resident and not in any of my other roles. As a resident that's been there with my family since 1969, zoning, I imagine the reason zoning exists is to indicate to buyers what to expect when they buy property. And it also exists as to what can be built, and for existing owners to know what can be built next to them in their neighborhood. And I'm assuming that even though you're not talking about use tonight, that zoning leads to use, right? So, like if I wanted to open a marina at my house, I could not, based on zoning and whatnot. But if you changed me to a business and we found a different way to open one, then that zone change would allow me to maybe do something different. So in that case, my main concerns are, I don't know, is the waterfront parcel part of that house, or are they separate parcels? Because around the lake, it's very different. Sometimes people across the street have direct waterfront by one connection, sometimes they're two different parcels.
Okay.
And so I don't know which is which, because I'm really concerned about two things. I'm concerned about, even though I'm at the other end of the lake, the amount of traffic on the lake and the boats. And when the business first came in, the use allowed for 40 vessels on the lake. And I didn't argue against that. I respected that it was done in the 70s. And hopefully that will stay honored as the marina goes on forever, because we have carrying capacity on Highland Lake that has to be looked at, because there's not much more room for anybody else on the water. So my concern with the zone change is something called dry docking. Dry docking, I suppose it can be done right now, but if the barn in the back and the garage in the back allows for more boats to be dry docked, and what dry docking is you put the boat in for the day and then you take it out. At the end of the day, for someone, we're now gonna exceed the 40 boats that was agreed to by this commission and other commissions when the marina was reestablished as a business. So I'm worried about that part, and I'm really worried that if the house part is connected to the waterfront and the marina were to expand, right now if it's under residential, it would be under the dock and mooring. And under dock and mooring, everybody gets a certain amount of waterfront coverage and boats. So, those are my main concerns at this point, is that there's not gonna be additional vessels on the lake from this activity. I know people want, they want to buy docks, want to buy boats, want to have boats fixed and all that kind of stuff. I'm not concerned about that. But rezoning needs different use. I don't know if any of the neighbors next to it, are looking at any of that either.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the audience with regards to this application? Yes.
Hi, my name is Carol Zacchio at 114 Shore Drive, and my concerns are basically the same as Candy's, that dry docking, boats could be stored in the garage area and then launched into the water, and then also if that waterfront was used for additional docks. My cove is just down from the marina, and it gets very crowded at times with boats. And I think some day people even dock in the, in there, some of them have stayed in the middle, and it becomes quite the hazard. So, that's my concern. We have a lot of boats on Highland Lake now, and it gets busy out there. And at times dangerous in our cove.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak with regards to this application too, either positive or negative? Okay. All right. Let's start around the table. Will?
Part of the permit for the accessory is sale of marine fuel. He already has a marine fuel facility. So it's like you're creating another marina at that property. So that shouldn't be part of it at all. And then boat rental, if you don't have a dock that's commercial, how can, I'm torn about the boat rental. I mean, that's already at the marina. It shouldn't be at a separate facility. I mean, then you're going to start having, everybody that's got a commercial property going down the lake can have a marine accessory property zoning and do boat rentals. So those two stand out as being issues in my mind. The boat storage, would that be outside or inside?
Could be if there's.
Could be either one.
Could be if there happens to be a building on this property that I want to put into this text. Could be inside. If there's no building, it could be outside.
Okay. Those are the two I have right now.
Okay. All right. Peter?
I just have a concern with, like we're possibly spot zoning here. I mean, we went all through the Highland Lake Business District just a couple of years ago and expanded the use of it. The zoning reg's been about, 3-4 years that they've been in, and we just can't see changing them.
All right.
It's kind of spot zoning, in my opinion.
Greg?
Peter, I have this, I really do.
I think we can, if you have questions of the applicant, so we could clear up any.
Yep.
Right,
And then with regards to how we
Yeah, I have
I
none.
understand.
deliberate, it's another. Okay. John?
I was thinking like, there, on that lake, space is such a commodity. What about storage, and how would you make it aesthetic to the lake? If you were beginning to store, like, I'm thinking like things like chemicals for oil, gasoline or whatever you may, because if you're doing engine repair or doing boat docks, you're probably working with hydraulic fluid and that kind of thing. And I'm not clear as to how that would be stored or how it would fit into that type of a utilization for that area, for that parcel.
With regards to, if, with all the details with regards to what you're adding in the glossary of terms, right now, the Highland Lake Business District, permits what you're doing by special permit. Pretty much everything, not pretty much, everything is really by a special permit here. So your marina, including boat sales and/or storage, repair, and fueling. So you have that without a text change. If you were in fact could have that property added to that Highland Lake business zone. How do you, I know we went through it before with you with regards to your application for the marina. And anything that's flammable and so forth has to be in proper containers by fire marshal's requirements and so forth. So you want to just describe how you would deal with that, just to clarify it? Not that it's new, but how you handle it now.
At this point, I don't know what's gonna be in that. I don't even know, I'm just trying to introduce this text, so I'm not taking this could be, I put on there 220, but it could be any property, so I'm just trying to introduce the text, so I'm not saying that building is gonna be used to work on boats or anything like that. So I just.
No, it would go with the entire business.
Right.
Highland Lake business zone. That's true, but
I'm just working on getting the text amendment in there so I could possibly do something with this building if the time ever comes. I don't have a specific use or idea in mind for anything yet. There's no sense me thinking or planning if I can't get this text amendment. Then it's.
But the current text right now permits the marina that you have.
Right. Well, so right now we do all that, and we dispose of it, we have an oil safety clean come and clean the oil, and, we have all
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. But answer any of it?
I think so. I'd like to do a little bit more research on it,
Okay, all right.
come back.
So, right now, so you're not suggesting this to apply to that parcel at 220? You're just wanting a text amendment, a general text amendment to the regs, and then you would apply for that parcel to become part of the Highland Lake Business
That's
District?
my future plans, because if I can't, right now I can't put 220 into
Yeah,
Highland Lake Business District
okay.
without this, so if I can't get this, there's no sense me spending the money for a survey and all the stuff that goes with it.
But, so George, but I think George was saying that the regs already say that, well, I'm unclear
If we,
about,
there's a request to rezone 220, which is the house,
oh, well, he just,
correct?
I
Yes.
haven't requested that yet, no.
That's in this motion, that's in the application.
I would like to
Oh, yeah,
request
to
a
rezone.
change to the zoning of 220 East Lake Street from a Highland Lake District to a Highland Lake Business District. That's in the application.
I see. So you are asking for that specific property
I was
to be
starting with the text, yeah, I guess
redesignated,
I worded
okay.
it wrong.
So
It's
it's
not
to
just-
change the zone, but not necessarily approve the use.
Yeah,
Well,
Well-
so the situation is if it's changed without any discussion about the proposed terminology change, it has the ability to do everything that we already have talked about
It has
under a
the,
special permit.
it has the ability to do everything that's allowed in the Highland Lake Business District.
right.
It has the potential through, everything is through a special permit. It has the exception, the potential to come in with an application, make application for any of those uses that are there. So, in the Highland Lake Business District, for example, by changing 220 East Lake Street, and say you don't approve the glossary change, but you do approve the zone change, he could come in for a
right.
hotel on
Yes,
220
right.
East Lake Street. That's what he's looking for, that's part of his application.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how I was thinking about this in this discussion is that what we're really considering is expanding the business district over, because the old restaurant is already in the business
That's in
district,
the
right?
parcel that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
so then
right.
the next place is this two-family
That's
house,
correct.
and he's saying include that in the business district. So
That's
that's
right.
really all it's being, not what would be done there, but
No, because
that
that
would
would
be
be
part
by
of the
special
district.
permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that a different perspective from the commission's?
No, I mean, the
Point of
zone
view.
change would be expanding the Highland
Yeah.
Lake Business
Yeah.
District. Anything that
But that's
happens.
a pretty big deal to expand a district.
Well, based on the original, we're not
Work that was
deliberating
done,
now,
yeah.
but we went through this to create something in the areas that had the potential and had been actually used for business, so that we didn't,
Impinge on residential areas.
or create it so it's a grandfathered situation. We wanted to be realistic so that people could improve their properties with the expectation to be able to continue what they've been doing, of course. So, I mean, there's two things here. One is the request to rezone it.
Yeah,
It's not a special permit request, it's a special
yeah,
Zone
permit
change, just
for
a
the
zone
zone change,
yeah,
but not any particular use on property. That would be
Right,
another
right.
step.
right.
And then adding the terminology that I read as the glossary in terms phraseology, that's another issue, that's another
Right.
part of this application. So, if you have any.
Multiple things.
Oh, there's
really.
multiple things in
Yeah.
the request. So during this open public hearing is if you need clarification of exactly what the request is, and I think we've got that.
Okay.
But we can clear that up, and then if we don't have any more input from the public, we can make a determination to continue the public hearing if we decide to review it a little more in depth after our conversation tonight, and give the applicant a chance to still answer questions and participate in our further deliberation. Or we could close the public hearing, and then that would be the end of the conversation with the applicant and anybody that has an interest in the lake. Then we would then take it up and deliberate. That's all. So with that conversation around the table, any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
You said this was used in a community in Florida, this marine accessory building? Could you tell us what community that was?
No, I can look it up, I can get it for you.
Okay.
Maybe I have. No, I don't have it. I can.
Anybody else in the audience have any further desire for information or for it or against the application? Okay, hearing none. Would you like to keep the application, the special permit hearing open to review it? Or do you feel you've got enough information?
I've got enough, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay,
Up to the other members.
well,
So, in my mind, is this an all or nothing tonight? He gets his own change and
no,
special?
no, we consider each element.
So we could zone this into the Highland Lake Business District and deny the Marina accessory zone.
That's, well, you could still deny the glossary of terms and phrases.
Text message
Modification, the text modification.
Amendment.
Okay.
There's, the rezoning is one of the things, and then the second thing is the text amendment.
The text amendment?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you feel you would like to have the opportunity to further question the applicant, we could keep.
Well,
the
I would
public
like to be
hearing
able to
open.
research how this zoning accessory went in other communities, because I tried looking it up in Florida and I couldn't find any reference to it. So I'd love to see how that was received there and how it worked out,
Mhm.
because I couldn't find anything at all that came close to it.
Okay. All right. Peter, you're satisfied with it,
I'm set.
going on with the discussion. Craig, what's your feeling?
Yeah, I was involved when we originally chose this,
So you've got enough information? to make
yeah,
a
I
decision?
don't
Okay.
need.
All right. John?
I have enough information at this time.
All right. Charlene, do you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, I don't,
Well, we're not deliberating, it just,
yeah, yeah.
if you needed to consider more information, that would, okay.
Well, certainly, I think if you were gonna go ahead with the text amendment, that should be reviewed
Certainly.
by council. I mean, that's
That's good.
kind of a wide open,
agree.
everything's in there,
I
so.
agree. That's a good point.
Right.
All right, anybody want to make a motion in regards to the special permit public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public
Close
hearing.
it. Do we have a second to that? John? Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion? Okay, unanimous. So we'll close the public hearing and we'll take it up to deliberate later on. Okay, the next order of business is PZC 21-05, special permit, 28 South Main Street, applicant FDN Masonry and Construction, owner Shelly Harms, DBA Icebox Investments LLC. Proposal convert mixed-use building to multifamily use.
Just real quick, the
Yep.
legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, August 9, 2021 at 7 PM in the P. Francis 6 room located on the second floor of Winchester Town Hall, 338 Main Street, Windsor, for the following application, PCC 2105, special permit applicant 28 South Main Street, applicant MTN Masonry and Construction, owner Shelly Harms, DBA Icebox Investment LLC, proposal convert mixed-use buildings multi-family use, PCC 2107, special permit location 144 Boyd Street, applicant Tanya Berganzi and David Madsen, owner Tanya Berganzi, proposal accessory apartment above detached garage. At this hearing, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written communications will be received. Copies of the above application are filed for public inspection at the Planning and Community Development Office, and it was published in the Republican American on July 29th and August 3rd. I have received the certificate of mails from the applicant serving as evidence that notice was sent to the abutting property owners. I have not received comments from zoning official Mark Melanson, nor the fire marshal, nor Jim Rollins, head of public works.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
So you presented, we've got the drawings and so forth, which, thank you. Nice job. Do you have anything, since we're now starting the public hearing, that you just, for the record?
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple things, just as some background. So
And you're
every-
just quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Shelly Harms. I'm the owner of the building. I live in Norfolk. Everybody knows the building. It's one of a row of, I think, 5 houses on Main Street. All of the houses are residential. This one, mine, is mixed use, and so it has a residential unit on the top floors, top 2 floors. It has a residential unit on the basement, and in the middle floor was commercial, or is commercial. And when I bought it, it had been a tailor shop, but that had been vacant for at least 2 years when I bought it. So kind of fast forward to last year, I put the building on the market, and it was actually under contract. Somebody was gonna buy that building and Primo. And so at that point, people kind of started to move out because they thought it was gonna, you know, and I also kind of started to move on, but then that deal fell through. And so, I mean, as my husband owns a couple of rental properties in other towns as well as I do, and at this point, we are getting so many calls from people who need a place to live. People are desperate for a place to live. People are not desperate to open up a commercial establishment at that, and as you know, with Primo standing vacant, and of course, you know. So anyway, since it's already got the residential units, we thought it made sense to also rent out that floor as a, you know, home for somebody, and did not realize that it required a special permit. I'm sorry about that, but we're here now, and yeah.
Okay. Did anybody in the audience like to make a comment with regards to the application? Linda?
I do. I'm Linda Graffo, 18 Cherry Street, and again, I as well speak as a resident of the of Winston. I asked members of this commission when making your decision regarding 28 South Main Street to keep in mind your recently released updated plan of conservation and development. Please remember that 44% of housing in our town is comprised of multi-family buildings. Of this number, 65% of the multi-family buildings are located in our downtown area. Your POCD clearly sets forth goals for the next decade to promote smart growth principles and apply your creative green print approach. Please continue to act in the best interest of our town, keeping your vision of conservation, development, and infrastructure. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience that has any comments with regards to this application? Okay. John?
It's the unit is currently not, it's currently vacant? The
There's a, there
floor
are
that you're
people,
proposing is vacant now?
I'm sorry, the property's occupied by, several tenants.
So you have a tenant on the middle floor that you're proposing to do the change for now?
Somebody has moved in there yet.
They were desperate. They
It's
had no
a
place
single
else to
mother
live.
and her baby.
Well, I asked because you said I didn't realize it needed a special permit, and that's why I'm here, that's why I asked that.
Right.
Thank
And there's a couple who lives on the top floor, and there's a single man who lives in the basement apartment.
Okay.
Those are the others.
Charlene, do you have any comments?
Well, what is the zone there? Is that's not a residential zone where those 4 or 5 houses are?
They're
Town Gateway.
town gateway, so it's,
Okay, town gateway.
It's a commercial.
But there are existing, and that was obviously a
Yes,
residence at
yes,
one point.
yeah.
And it's primarily a residence now, and even with the one floor, wasn't that your law office? or-
Yes, it was. It was always a residence.
Yeah,
All right. For a period of time, I believe that the people who owned the property were living upstairs and had the tailor shop downstairs. And then when we bought it, I moved my law office
Right.
into the first floor.
Ground floor.
And when we renovated the building, we
Yeah.
updated the building so that both the upstairs and the downstairs could be used for
okay,
residential.
so it was always residential, then it got changed to town gate during the zoning change, and that changed the use there, that now you have to have a special permit
for
to have a
mixed use.
residence,
Well, yes, that's right.
even though it was a residence. I'm confused
No,
about
it was
this.
mixed
It is a
use.
residence.
It was mixed use.
Oh,
Yes, it was
Mixed
mixed
It was
use
retail.
because of the tailor shop.
got it, okay, but all the other ones that are just residences.
Everything else is resident.
One of the reasons I bought it was actually because the local nonprofit needed an office. And so
Mhm.
that nonprofit rented it also for a while.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well,
There's not gonna be any changes to the outside of the building.
No,
I won't know driving by that it's changed at all.
no.
No.
You're not gonna add to the parking, paved parking area or anything, so no increased lot coverage. And inside now, the rooms exist, they just have to be repurposed, correct?
The only thing that changed was there was a kitchenette in my law office, and we moved it to the room next door and made it into a kitchen, so, rather than a kitchenette. That's it. Everything else remained exactly the same.
Okay.
Peter?
Do all apartments have 2 entrances, 2 mains of egress?
Yes.
Including the first floor, the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Every
Okay.
single unit has two.
Yeah, that was my only question, because it didn't show it on your prints or any of the things submitted, so.
He left it off
Yep.
on the first draft.
It's important.
I modified.
He fixed it.
There are doors, there are 2 exits out of every single.
Yeah, I saw the stairs for the fire escape for the rear for the 2
And-
floors.
And this one has two exits.
Okay,
And also, there's a window in the kitchen area that is directly onto the fire escape.
Okay.
I have no questions on it.
With all intents and purposes, anybody driving by would realize that this has even changed, because you certainly didn't overuse it as a office.
That's an understatement.
All right. Any other comments from the commission?
No, I was just gonna ask about the entrance and exits, but we already got that answered, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's, when we don't have an answer from our fire marshal, we have a person here who has a keen interest on fire safety.
All the smoke and CO2 direct detectors are hardwired in that building. All of them.
That's the building department issues,
Yeah.
but certainly, the preparation for a building to flow, it's, Peter is right on top of it, so I appreciate that. So if nobody has any other questions, we have any other, yes?
I think the public comment about the multifamily and the percentage is well-known by this commission,
Absolutely.
certainly, and those of us who've worked on this issue over the last several decades. So I don't think that should be disregarded, because the POCD did and the zoning regs revisions did try to look at that and address that. But this specific property is historically a residence. I don't know, was it a multifamily residence historically? The property? It's not relevant,
I don't
but-
know, we don't, you know, I don't have that record, but
Yeah.
the point too is that, as we've looked to other communities to determine the success of multifamily residential, it's, if someone is an owner occupant in a multifamily, could be 4 families, 2 families, 5 families, whatever, they tend to be maintained better and become a better neighbor. And that's part of what we did at our POCD, is to try to promote that. How do you do it? I don't know. It's just try to educate people and try to get our neighborhoods to be more upgraded.
We have extensive experience in ownership of multifamily units. We own several between the two.
Well, then you know, and I just wanna go on record, because there's never, I don't wanna ever miss an opportunity to inform the public that if you own a multifamily, which is 3 units or more, there should always be a rental inspection prior to occupancy. That's required, every 2 years or more frequently when you change tenants. When it's a 3-family or more, you also wanna have a fire marshal annual inspection. That's required annually for the fire marshal to check smoke detectors and, common spaces. Furthermore, before you ever, adjust any kind of interior building modifications, you wanna make sure you take permits ahead of changing out any framing or anything. I just, you know, for our viewing audience or for future record and for the benefit of the commission as well as the applicant, you just, you know, we have a lot of multifamily housing units, and I wouldn't wanna miss the opportunity to share that.
Appreciate that.
We have had an inspection in the last year and a half. From the farmer, from Steve.
Steve Williams.
Yeah.
No, that's, I'm glad you brought that up, because we have so many rental units, and I think that we haven't had a good mechanism to alert the office. People try to stay away from the inspection department, and it really is a beneficial
The good ones
inspection.
don't, you know.
No, it's true.
It benefits them. It's $25, and it's the best $25 that they'll spend with a landlord-tenant
Absolutely.
dispute. Because what it does is, a lot of times, like I say, you don't need it for 2 families, and the landlords like to have them, because then if there's any damage, they have an inspection report to reveal that it was in, you know, freshly painted, and so, you know, some really good landlords, you know, do it on their own accord without being prompted by the statutes to do so.
Okay, all right. So if nobody has any other questions, we can take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion. Close the hearing.
Craig, second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion to close? Thank you. Thank you. We will take it up later on in the agenda to make a
You wanna hang around,
determination.
I'll probably take it out.
Okay. 351 North Main Street has been continued under 5 old business. Item B under number 5, PZC 21-04, special permit, 220 East Lake Street. Applicant owner Eric Richard, proposal zone change, zoning regulation change, text amendment, marina accessory use. What's everybody's pleasure here? So we've got a couple of issues. One is the, get this mask to stop fogging my eyes up. Pam has done a draft motion, so we just talk about the issues. One is a regular boilerplate that we put in. So the primary thing is the rezoning of 220 East Lake Street. Do we have, let me just check a map on what's going on here.
all along the waterfront.
Highway.
I think from the old Lice House where the Jaguar place is, like,
Yeah.
when we made that Highland District, we made it from there down to.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Is that part of that property though?
There's all separate properties. Yeah, well, is water frontage across the street.
I mean, that's part of 220's lake rights?
Yeah, there is a piece.
So this, any change would apply to that side too?
That side is already Highland Lake Business District. That doesn't have to be changed.
Yeah.
The lakeside piece of property is already Highland Lake
The
Business
way,
District.
we don't have a large map to look at this, but it looks to me like there is an area that is Highland Lake District, it's on the water.
Yeah, you're right.
That's, can you bring up that, highlight that map so we can see exactly what parcels we're talking about? Because there is just a
Yeah,
Highland Lake
there is a little
residential.
bit there.
Most of that frontage, I thought it was anything other than the marina, but I can't make out from this small map.
Yeah, even with glasses, it's tough to read.
Yeah. I'm looking at this one,
Yeah.
and there is definitely some red along that whole
Yeah, it looks like
shoreline.
there's like a buffer of red there
Yeah.
in front of it. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see that
see
too,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, we put that in, we were trying to accommodate
I
that.
thought so.
The old Bruno property and that,
Yeah, yeah.
for commercial.
And the convalescent home.
Correct.
'Cause that's,
Yeah, so it's
So the one-
currently,
Yeah, see, the
See,
Bruno's
it
there.
shows a little bit of
And
reddish
that's the
around.
convalescent.
see all this?
Right.
Red,
wasn't that
that's red all
If
along
that's
the
the same
shoreline.
property.
Because
I thought it
when
went
we
over to
did all
where
the
the
zoning
marina is.
regulations, and there was complaints about
I did too.
commercial properties
Right.
in a residential area.
the parcel across the street is already
Along
Highland,
with-
according
Yeah,
to the
so this area
JIS,
over
is
here.
already Highland Lake Business
This
District.
property and this
Whereas the
property.
I know.
On the
But
land, on
it's the
the
same way
land
here.
side
Yeah.
is not.
Here,
Well, no, I understand
This
that,
is
but
also
there is
Highland Lake
there is,
Business
So
District.
then.
See this here? And then when you go farther up, you got the Jaguar property.
Steve.
This is Highland Lake District, and this is Highland Lake Business District.
yeah, I
That's the old
understand.
Lice House property, the
Why is
bigger
this
one
map
right there.
different?
I don't
See
know.
that? It's all along the
Show
shore.
Yeah, see, it's
So.
showing here. No. It's because the lines are off. The boundary lines, those gray lines are off.
Would that be normal for the property?
On
that's
George's
showing
map?
No, on the
Two different
GIS.
zones?
Well, it's probably two separate pieces of property.
Not usually.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
before you
Well,
make.
Well, I mean, like,
A lot
it's
of
showing
times
the
they're-
water.
A lot of times
is
they're on the
red.
same deed.
See, when I
Yeah,
But
take
they
it
get
out.
two different tax bills.
Yeah, but
That's true.
this
Without
definitely
looking
does
it up
not.
Yeah.
on the Winchester map.
So, we
Pam?
should get a map that's clear. We have a hard copy of this that's readable.
Yeah.
Pam, is that two separate pieces of property or
You'd
one?
You'd have to, read the deed,
Yeah.
and I don't wanna,
No, I just wondered. You had any, you knew.
I do, but I don't think that it should be introduced into the record
Okay.
after it's
Nope.
closed.
Just a question I had.
Oh, the.
Do we have access to that, Pam?
Yeah. I'll pull it off my wall.
You need help?
Nope.
Sure.
I don't recall having a waterfront.
I don't either. I thought we
thought
took
it
that
was
strip
all-
from,
Yeah,
A lot of those waterfronts are all on the same deed as the main property.
yeah.
And why would you split a piece of property in two like that?
Well, we really spent a lot of time trying not to do that. With boundary lines and road boundaries and so forth. But that's what doesn't make sense. But we did find with our previous town planner, when we did something, it was
not necessarily got done the way we
not how it got
wanted it
to
to
be.
be.
Not how it ended up on paper.
Yeah, so here's this. Okay, well, it looks like the piece that's next to it, which is here,
Is this one?
yeah, it does look like it's in the,
Yeah, this is
But this is all red along here, which is again, the actual frontage of the lake.
It's not, because it's on a separate parcel.
What's on a separate parcel?
This.
Waterfront.
Yeah. It-
You know, George, that's gotta be clarified before we can do anything, I think, right? You gotta,
How are you gonna clarify it?
there's no,
Well, first of
a
all,
survey or something in there?
first of
say-
all, we've closed the public hearing, so
So what?
you're not seated for the discussion.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
Sorry.
Got it.
So,
But each one of these pieces of property on this side of the road goes down to the lake.
It does.
And it would, so it wouldn't be in two separate zones.
No, I know.
It'd have to all be in,
So the map that shows that we've got to
Right.
print it has got to be in error.
right.
I really think it's our GIS.
Yeah.
That it's, you know, this happens all the time with the
Yeah.
outline of the overlay with,
Yeah, this doesn't,
It
it
could
doesn't
be
make
off,
sense
like-
that that little strip would be completely separated. All right, so the question is, do we want to expand the Highland Lake Business District to the residence that was just purchased at 220? I think we went through this extensively before, when we were talking about creating the Highland Lake Business District. The original draft that we had with the people from Cincinnati didn't even have a Highland Lake Business
Right.
District. And we created that. The parcel that was proposed for the Holiday Inn, and we had the same applicant come in and talk about, you know, the possible development of that. It was to put in a storage building for the, for the topics that were being discussed here as a reservation that's gonna create possibly more congestion on the lake, because you've got the dry storage. Somebody could have a boat stored in a higher eve building, pull it out of storage, put it in for the water for the day, and then pull it back out of the water. And that does not alter the count of the dock arrangement, because it's not being docked there. And that was something that, you know, we had talked, and that is in the Highland Lake Business District, where the hotel was gonna be. But now we're talking about going further east with one more piece of property. And I don't think, you know, frankly, I don't like the idea of expanding the business zone up there in the residential.
I'm totally against it. Like I say, you're going back to spot
Where's it
zoning
stop?
again, which is one of the big problems we had for
Yeah.
years.
Where's it stop?
Yep. There's property available to do what needs to be done. It's in
Yeah,
that
on the other
district.
side.
Right.
And, you know, our decisions are based on the financial implications for a developer. It's what we feel from the zoning standpoint and input
Well,
from the
you have to
public.
follow our POCD also.
Yeah, yeah. True, very true. I just preached that to the board of selectmen. Greg, do you have any other comments with regards to
as I say, I reiterate that, you know, I never remembered that we split
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
because I was involved with,
Yeah.
heavily involved
Mhm.
with this. And I don't remember, you
I
know,
don't-
having,
I don't either.
you know, one side of the road, that was never,
But the way it was drawn, that on this thing that's filed with our
I realize
regulations,
that, I'm just
it's-
saying,
It's
just,
definitely an error.
that's not what we had
No.
anticipated.
I agree with you.
And our discussions were very specific
Yeah.
as to our motives.
And the definition of our zone, so we weren't split properties.
And we were trying to accommodate the three potential businesses.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
The one down, the old Bruno's.
Yeah.
The
Convalescent,
Laurel,
yeah.
whatever the hell it was, and,
Yeah.
that, so, I don't, I disagree with that,
Yeah,
from what we,
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what Pam showed on the GIS is actually the more accurate.
yeah.
although I looked, I took the aerial,
Mhm.
the straight base layer off and put the aerial on, and it is showing those are Highland Lake Business District. So
Okay.
if it's the
That's good for-
inclination of the commission that's not what you intended, then it can be a commission-initiated application to
understand.
change those.
But the property that's showing Highland Lake Business District, does the properties tie into across the street? Or just, because there are some buildings.
They have the same numbers. If you're asking if they run with one another in a conveyance, I believe they do.
See, the situation with 220, there's no building on the water side.
There's two 220s,
There's, what?
What?
yes.
Oh, that's-
And that's not uncommon, I shouldn't say it's not uncommon, it's not unheard of on West Wakefield Boulevard, where, you know, there's a couple parcels where the owner owns the road, and the town has a right to pass and repass over it. But it's one piece. There's, you know, it's not common, but there's a couple of them that
But I
exist, but
understand-
this
I
is not one
understand.
of them.
But what I'm saying is, if we say in this area that the waterfront is the south side of East Lake Street, and the residence is on the north side, okay, then I can understand there's a linkage there. The waterfront end, because there's the building associated with it, you couldn't build on the waterfront side because it's too narrow. But you go a little bit further to the east, and there are homes, and there used to be a boat rental place that was down there, that had cabins, I think, was it Johnson or somebody like that back years ago?
Yes.
And, but how far to the east from the marina does this Highland Lake Business District go?
Down to Stu Jones.
To Stu Jones?
So, yeah, Vittorio, so I guess it was known as the Pink House,
Yeah. that's-
is also Highland Lake Business District. So it goes down to Stu Jones.
This is the
But at that point, it doesn't go back across the street to what I'm
No.
calling the north side.
No, it stops at the old Tato's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say there's two 220s, there's a 220 for the building side on the north side of the road.
And then that undeveloped piece across the
Is part
street
of
is known as 220.
Okay, well, okay.
Whether, you know,
I understand, because it's a linked piece with, like you said, the road goes through it.
no, I'm not saying that it's one piece and the road goes through it. I'm saying that it's conveyed.
But it's connected and there's only one house
As
on,
I
or one
remember,
building.
without-
Okay.
It has the same street number.
Without pulling the deed and,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
verifying, but,
But the very next place to that, to the east of that,
is also HLB.
on the north side? No,
Not to the north, no.
just on the water.
Just
Just on the water, yes.
And there's no building on it?
No.
I don't think so.
No, because no. Nope, it's gravel,
Now, Stu Jones, is that in the Highland Lake business?
yes.
Okay.
So the house before Stu Jones is in HLD too?
Yeah,
We're heading towards Bruno's.
yeah.
Well,
No,
before
No,
Stu.
yes.
Isn't that the pink house?
Not the, so yes, the Pink House, that's the only residence between Stu Jones and the marina
Right.
on the lakeside.
That's in the business, Highland Business
That,
District.
yes, yep, that Pink House is in the Highland Lake Business District.
So what we're talking about then is expanding the Highland Lake Business District on the north side of the street. So just this one house
Mhm.
and the barn, whatever's in.
Yes,
Okay. Now that we got that lengthy discussion out. So what's your thoughts? You feel you want to expand this zone?
No, not me. Oh,
Greg, you already said you haven't. I think we talked about this when we created the zone, that we didn't want to have this thing encroach. We actually had no Highland Lake Business Zone at all, and then we revisited it to accommodate what was there. What do you think, John?
I keep thinking about how much work we put into that POCD we're doing so much work to tighten everything up, it kind of feels like we're going in the wrong direction to me.
Okay.
But I'm also going on the advice of wiser guys than me, because I haven't been around since the
Well, no,
beginning of
it's- no, but that's,
time on that lake, like some of us here on the board, but
yeah.
I'm going with their opinion as well.
All right, so let's take one part of this request, which is the zone change. It sounds like everybody's leaning in the direction of no. And I'll tell you what, my thoughts on this text amendment, I don't think it's even, I think that, first of all, the current regulation for the business district, everything is special permit required. And the marina, including boat sales and/or storage, repair and fueling is also there. And we, just like our production and industrial, we don't have any accessory residential that's allowed there for, in-law apartments or whatever you want to term it. And we purposely didn't put it in this zone either because it's a business zone. And we didn't put it in town center. But I think those are the only 2 or 3 places that we didn't put the accessory apartment in. Discussion for another time, we might want to do something in the downtown area to consider that. But, to add single-family dwelling, 2-family dwelling, right now it's a single-family, he says it's 2-family there, and it's pre-existing to our zoning, but the Highland Lake District doesn't permit multifamily.
And the thing is, with the zone change, you open it up for height, your height can go up to 50 feet. Who's to say you're not gonna tear that building down and, put up a 50-foot tall building, and your setbacks are only 2 feet and 5 feet from the front and the sides?
Yeah, that's a good point.
By changing that into a business district, you change the whole character of that.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. It's a good point.
We're gonna get back to our old zone.
Well, we'll go back to this.
26 zones.
Yeah. Which was a real mess.
That's my problem with it.
Yeah.
No, I just, that whole idea.
You gotta look
we did
long-term.
was
All right, well, let's do something.
This also opens up the possibility of another marina, because you can rent boats and sell fuel. And it does say, doesn't it say in the regulations that there's only 1 marina allowed on Highland Lake?
Mhm.
So that would open up the possibility of another one.
Through a special permit process, but you're right.
Without special permit, because if you just go to the marina accessory and you get that permit, then don't you get to do all these by
Oh, I
just
see your
being in
point.
that permit?
I see your point. But that's still, marine accessory is still a special permit,
Right.
so it's not automatically granted.
But
by
if
zone
you
change.
got the special permit for the marine accessory, then you get the rights to do
It's
everything
exactly
else
right.
that is a special permit.
Exactly right. That's right.
Okay.
All right, somebody want to make a motion with regards to this? I would suggest if we make a motion, it's a positive motion. And if we're not happy with it,
Why don't we use the existing draft motion and go with that? I'll read it if you want.
to approve, please.
To approve, I make a motion to approve application 21-04, special permit, applicant owner Eric Richard, location 220 East Lake Street. Proposal, zone change, zoning regulation change, and text amendment, marina accessory use. 1, in evaluating this application, the Planning and Zoning Commission has relied upon information provided by the applicant, and if such information subsequently proves to be false, deceptive, incomplete, and/or inaccurate, this permit shall be modified, suspended, or revoked. 2, to rezone 220 East Lake Street from the Highland Lake District Zone to the Highland Lake Business District Zone. 3, to add marina accessory as an approved use by special exception to the Highland Lake Business District. 4, to add to the glossary of terms and phrases, marine accessory, normal ancillary, and subordinate to a marina, including but not limited to sale of marine fuel and lubricants, marine supplies, boats and boat motors, and boat parts, restaurant or refreshment facility, boat rental, minor boat rigging, and motor repair, dock and boat lift sales, dock build and repair, boat lift building and repair, boat storage, boat lift and dock inventory storage, single-family dwelling, two-family dwelling, accessory apartments. 5, based on oral testimony and submitted written material supporting the request, the commission finds the proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the town's 2011 Plan of Conservation and Development, as well as the proposed 2021 Plan of Conservation and Development. The effective date of the text amendment is August 11th, 2021.
Do we have a second? John seconded it. Discussion on the motion? Without hearing any discussion, the vote to approve is a yes. If you don't go along with it, then it'll be a vote to deny. So all in favor of the motion? Opposition to the motion? Okay, unanimous
Motion fails.
failed. Yep.
Unanimously fails.
Unanimous. Yep.
Just for the record.
You got a clean copy there, George? Sign?
Yes, I do.
Mine, I marked it up, so.
Well, who has a clean copy of that draft?
You got a clean copy?
Here's
Oh,
one.
I just marked
Oh,
mine.
okay.
I just marked mine, drew an extra up.
Here's one.
You got one, okay.
Thanks, John.
Let's just get a little closer.
Okay. Who seconded it, George?
John.
Okay. Gotta make sure you sign twice, though.
Here's your pen back.
Thank you, sir.
Sign it.
Signature's so nice, I have to sign it twice.
Go down in history. All right, the next item on the number 5 is PZC 21-05, special permit, location 28 South Main Street, applicant FDM Masonry and Construction, owner Shelly Harms, DBA Icebox Investments LLC, proposal convert mixed-use building to multifamily use.
I did not prepare a, motion, but I could draft one real quick if you'd want me to read it.
Well, let's, first of all, any issues with the applicant that they presented? So whether if there's any other consideration for additional items here, but otherwise it'd be the typical boilerplate for number 1, and then I would put in there, add number 5 on the previous draft motion as the number 2. Okay,
Yep.
we have a motion to approve,
I'll make a motion to approve PCC 2105 special permit, 28 South Main Street, applicant FDM Masonry and Construction, owner Shelly Harms, DBA Icebox Investments LLC, proposal to convert mixed-use building to multifamily use.
okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Will second it. The only thing that, this is our gateway zone, however, the history of that property and the adjoining to the, if we say eastbound, the next 4 properties, it doesn't change the harmony there. At some point, it probably will be upgraded to more of a gateway kind of a use, but right now, it is, continues to be in harmony in its previous use. Any further discussion with regards to the motion? All in favor of the motion? Unanimous,
for the
yep.
record.
Thank you.
So, you'll need something signed, so we'll have to,
I don't actually.
you don't?
No,
Okay, all
it's
right.
just
All right, what happened to Phil Doyle?
He is on vacation and he's coming on August 23rd. It's not his mistake, it's mine.
Oh.
I don't know, you wanna wait for him.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So that's okay, August
No,
23rd, right?
that's,
I mean,
I have no
I think I
problem with
could
that.
review it for
I
you,
just
but
don't wanna miss something that we,
No,
time-wise,
no.
Okay, number 6 is PZC, number 05-03, open space subdivision. This is the Platte Hill property that the solar farm is going on.
It is, and then the owner is here, and he'll probably be more than happy to indulge you, and just give you a brief.
How are you?
I'm not a buddy.
Yeah, I don't,
You know the buddy.
it's not necessary.
I would get something. Yep.
All right. I'm Kurt Mayland, I'm the owner of Platte Hill Land LLC. Gonna be leasing a portion of this land to a solar company to build and operate a solar facility and donate about 80 acres of it to the land trust, so. Correct me if I make a mistake, because you might know just about this, just as much about this as I do. So the reason we're here is because the land in question, the subject land is about 100 acres on Platte Hill Road, was a proposed subdivision that I think we all agree has expired years ago. And when it expired and was terminated, the town never filed my understanding, they should have filed a notice of termination. So I believe that you have a notice of termination in front of you. I think they have one right from your attorney.
Yes.
They have a draft resolution.
A draft resolution to terminate the subdivision, of which we all support. So there's about 26 lots or so that would go away as part of that, in various declarations of easements and covenants. Well, I shouldn't say that. The subdivision itself would terminate, and the lots could no longer be sold. As the owner of the land, and I think the town are all in support of that. The second thing our attorneys advise us that we need to do is we need to return the land, we need to consolidate the lots and return it to its previous one lot, which is done via this consolidation map, which I have here. It's in 2 sections. It really just shows you, I have the Mylar here, which is such a big property, it takes 2. And then I have some stamped and signed copies for you too. As you can see, it takes the land, it's got some wetlands marks, and returns it to essentially one lot. I don't even know showing this helps, but this is on the corner of the property. But in order to kind of wind up the subdivision, it's kind of a ministerial task, but we need the termination resolution and then this map to be signed by, I guess, you, Chairman Clausen, and on both pages, and then if you do, I'll
Right.
report it tomorrow morning with the clerk, and then technically, the subdivision is going at
So-
that point.
All the lots will be consolidated into one, including the 3 along the road?
Yeah, so those are 3, we
Now,
ended up,
You've purchased those, or?
I purchased those, we recorded it this morning, so yeah, those would be included in the map, so, that made life a little easier, got a little confusing there with those 3 lots left out, but, so that's the main gist. I mean, I don't know if you wanna tackle that first and then go on to the other 3, the declaration, the drainage easement, and the bond, or if we wanna just.
It's all part of one resolution.
Oh, it is, okay, so the second thing is there's 3 documents related to the subdivision, which are really moot, that require, I think we're asking the Board of Selectmen to take the required actions, and because they have to do with town ownership or control, they fall under 824, so they have to refer to them to the planning board. One of them is a surety bond that was put up as part of the subdivision, which I'm pretty sure is unfunded and no longer really exists. So that's the easy
one. Then there's a drainage easement to do with, one of the roads that will never get constructed because the subdivision no longer exists. And then there's a declaration and grant of conservation easement in favor of the town of Winchester, which actually has to do with, only lots 1, 2, and 3. So we would like, and I think you have the letter from our attorney, from Peter Olson, to also clear that up, so that eventually we can take this and turn it into 2 parcels, one which the solar will go on, and then the other which will get donated to the land trust. It's just kind of going through some steps we didn't realize we had to go through about 3 or 4 months ago, when I should have hired Peter. Thought I was smart enough to do it on my own, and it turned out I wasn't.
Yeah, that's, historically, I'm sure you get volunteer boards, and we're not all aware of all the legal procedures here for something
Yeah, I was
like
under
this.
the impression wrongly, through some bad advice, that once the subdivision wasn't built during its permitted time period, that these things all just sort of magically disappeared because they were tied to it. There's just a process we have to go through
Okay.
to really wind it up.
All right. Anybody have any questions with regards to the, what's out here on the table?
So the 3 lots in the front that you're referring to are the 20 acres that are going for the solar use?
No, there was 3 lots along Platte Hill Road. They were a total, I forget the acreage for each, but they don't meet the requirements, the zoning requirements. The minimum acreage is like 88,000 or something like that. They're slightly under that. It's about 4.6 acres of 3 lots. Originally, we had, when I bought the land or optioned it, the landowner at the time, Trade Winds Farms, wanted to keep them. He's like, "If you're not gonna use them, I'll just keep them." I was like, "Fine with me, I have no plans for them." We let it go, and then it turned out just to consolidate everything into one and not leave those out as separate lots got a little confusing in this process. So we ended up buying them like 4 days ago, and then recording it today, so.
So those aren't part of this 100 acres and?
They are, they're up here at the front,
they
but
are.
they're not part of the solar. The solar is sort of coming in
Gotcha.
off Platte, and is up on the plateau there. And we're gonna carve that out as a separate lot, and the rest will be,
But all of the lots, including the one on on Platte Hill Road, were part of the Trade Winds
Yes.
subdivision that was approved. It was an open space. And it was
Correct.
reduced sizes because of the amount of space that was dedicated to that, so so I'd make a motion that we approve the 4 resolutions that we have printed and suggested that we do.
For the record, would someone read them? Can you read them, George? I'm
Sure.
sorry.
Okay, I make a motion that we pass the resolution. It's described as resolved that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission hereby approves the request of Platte Hill Land LLC to avoid the subdivision approved by the commission on December 8th, 2005, known as the Trade Winds Farm, being maps number 1968 and 1969 in the town clerk's office, and authorize the chairman or secretary of the commission to endorse a perimeter survey of the property with a note indicating that its purpose is to avoid the said subdivision. Secondly, resolve that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission hereby approves the request of Platte Hill Land LLC to release the surety bond agreement on file at volume 366, page 1157 of the Winchester Land Records, and authorize zoning enforcement officer Pam Columby to implement said release and note such release in the Winchester Land Records. Third, resolve that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission, in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-24, hereby recommends that the town meeting take the necessary steps to release the declaration and grant of conservation easement to the town of Winchester on file at volume 366, page 1124 of the Winchester Land Records, and convey such interest back to Platte Hill Land LLC. And fourth, resolve that the Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission, in accordance with the Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-24, hereby recommends that the town meeting take the necessary steps to release the town's interest in a declaration of easements, covenants, and restrictions on file at volume 366, page 1146 of the Winchester Land Records.
I'll second that.
Peter, second. Any discussion of the motion? All in favor? Thank
And if I might be so bold, you mind if I get your
Yeah, that's
signature on
fine.
this? Like,
I'll walk out there.
oh, thank you. Yes, so we can get moving on our building permit applications.
You have an appropriate pen that goes on the Mylar?
That one, Mike.
You don't want to gel.
This one.
We
Is
don't
that-
have it.
Mylar time?
Is that a gel?
Yeah, yeah.
It is?
You don't,
You don't want it,
I
no.
think Chaz would probably be better, yeah.
But do you want a copy of this? for-
I'll take it.
Okay. This says 2 pages, so.
You can just leave it there, Kurt.
Sure what happens next with the other thing, for the selectmen, vote on it at that time.
That'll be quick, they'll get it on there.
They'll meet what, next week?
What's that?
They meet next week, don't they?
Yeah.
Any idea when they're looking to build?
Yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, I know, yesterday, I'm sure.
We both got hassled by him to,
Yeah,
move, so.
that's good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks for clearing up all the Plant Hill Road business. Okay, number 7, approval of minutes, July 12th.
One change, Pam, on the backside. Art Melcher made a motion to adjourn. He wasn't there.
Don't you miss him?
Huh?
He wasn't still here July 12th?
July 12th? Doesn't show him in attendance.
All right.
So either he was in attendance, and that was missed, or he didn't make the motion to adjourn. I don't know which. I know. I make a motion to approve as amended.
So, let me, hold on one second, let me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think it was, Mr. Platt who made the motion.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was that right?
Sounds good.
That was the only thing, just.
I don't get any
Art
more
wasn't there.
compensation for it. Oh, boy.
Okay.
I do read them.
So,
All in favor?
who
I
seconded
did.
the
I made the
motion?
motion.
And who seconded it?
Who just seconded the minutes as
I'll
modified?
second.
Will do.
Okay, so we
Will
did that
do.
one too.
I heard.
Wow, all right, thank you.
Okay, second issue is July 26th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments, changes? All in favor? Thank you. All right. Communications.
Yeah, so, Karen was just wondering, when it comes to, the ECAD, the neighbor Pazzo had appealed the ECAD decision. So he would obviously, represent the town in terms of, providing the record and whatnot, but he wondered if the commission was looking for, a more active representation.
Who's making this question?
Bill Pazzo is a neighbor of ECAD's, I wanna say he's at
Okay,
140,
okay, I know who he is.
Yeah. 151. So he's
Who's asking, Kevin?
appealing, what's that?
Who's asking, Kevin?
Kevin, yeah. Because a lot of times, the town doesn't put on, that's really up to the applicant and his attorney to litigate the appeal. He's gonna represent the town, so, there'll be an appearance.
So ECAT is gonna respond, they're,
Yeah, more
I
or
thought they were
less.
suing us, not ECAT.
No, we're just named as a party defendant. So, and he's, other towns don't, like Salisbury, he's only gonna represent as, in so much as, what would be necessary, but, he asked if the commission had given any discussion to whether or not you expect a very, active participation. He said that like Salisbury doesn't, that, in other towns, it's not uncommon for a neighbor to appeal a decision of planning and zoning, and then you kind of just let them fight it out.
What's, Charlene, you're in the
Yeah,
house.
well, I mean, not really knowing the issue, being first
Mhm.
meeting, but, and I think I know what Kevin is
Yeah.
saying. On the other hand, does the town have a stake in its decision greater than the usual decision this board makes?
I would say no. This is kind of a two-step process. It was approved many years ago, so the first building was constructed.
So
through
this
a-
is
through a
really
site
between the
plan.
neighbors,
Yes,
then Kevin's right.
Yeah,
In
it's
terms
pretty
of-
much,
Yeah.
because
All right,
we,
okay.
yeah.
How can we
in our
amend this?
approval, we put a lot of conditions in there. And the state also had them in there because of widening the road, things like that, paving it, but we put a lot of conditions in there.
Yes.
So you feel from the town side, you've already done and you're protected from that side.
Yes.
We've had multiple public hearings,
Is
meetings
the,
on the
and
premises.
is the plaintiff contesting all of that?
I don't know, like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
still
yeah.
in
But
discovery.
it's really more the neighbor thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Oh,
really the
yeah,
heart of the
yeah.
dispute. So
So-
Kevin's saying, why make it a full court press from
Right.
the town side when it's really a dispute between the neighbors? I don't know what the dispute is, so
Well, no, it's
Yeah.
that they're there.
that they're there, okay,
Right.
well.
That's it.
That's it,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's kind of hard to step back and revoke
yeah,
that, but
yeah, so
they-
that's
they-
really the neighbors.
they just had an appearance date, so nothing's really going forward.
No,
Is
but
that
the records do, all that,
Yeah,
and he's
I
gonna
mean-
do that, he's gonna,
He'll do what he has to do. We're all
Yeah.
just-
Yeah,
And
So
it'll-
It'll be more of a minimus, de minimis
Yeah.
kind of appearance.
I don't see us.
I don't see any reason for us to get involved
Okay.
unless we were subpoenaed or.
Okay, good?
Yeah,
Okay. Staff report, there, zoning permit was signed, it was a simple, mixed use to mixed use for retail to retail, or similar use for pause and reflect, it's a
oh, up
dog,
at
yeah.
Galliano's
Yep.
salon.
So, that was approved administratively. Ledgebrook, the package store down at 200 New Hartford Road is changing hands, going from, nothing is changing, just changing owners. So that was signed off on. Conversations, I believe that they have engaged an architect, the owners of 10 Bridge Street, the front building. They had met with town manager Josh Kelly, no discussion on what they're proposing, at least, with staff, but, so they are at least moving forward with something. Obviously, about Capital Products. He's still mulling about, but expect him to be probably approaching this board soon. That's all I have.
Okay. We've got our P.O.C.D. Public hearing scheduled for the 23rd. I'll send you a copy. We did a couple of PowerPoint presentations back originally.
You do that?
I printed.
You did already?
She
You did,
did.
okay.
Pam, you.
So I just went through it and I just pulled stuff out that was already taken care of, or to see it was legitimate to go into it. P.O.C.D. with just that kind of stuff is pretty dry. We had talked at the last meeting, one of the things, I went through the Board of Selectmen's meeting, and one of the selectmen expected there was gonna be, some major changes. And I said that we liked the direction we're going in.
That already happened. That was the
Yeah,
2011 one.
Right.
yeah, and we didn't feel it was necessary to change, monumental change here, and I think it was
Where
almost
were they
like-
when we had our public hearings?
Yeah.
Well,
And asked boards and commissions to come to us.
Well, I understand, but,
You know.
but the point though is, I think it was almost like a teacher thinking we were plagiarizing the previous
Right.
one. You know, the language was similar and all that stuff. I said, yeah, no wonder, because we didn't change it. We thought we were in the right direction, and there's no requirement to actually change, make these monumental changes unless we felt that we were out of the wrong direction.
Just said it be reviewed and
Yeah,
updated.
and that's what we did, and we asked them to give us a positive, or I asked them to give us a positive referral. If they don't, we've gotta have a 2/3 approval here to pass it. And we've got the public hearing on the 23rd, they're welcome to come in and, do
Can
whatever
we-
they're gonna do.
We approved it that night, is that on the
We could.
agenda for, we'll be on the agenda for that night, so.
Yeah.
So are they taking it up next week at their meeting?
They were supposed to, yes, next Monday. Yeah, I don't think, we may have one that will be, he'll abstain probably. Not gonna mention any names. Okay, how about we've got the new gentleman here, he's on a temporary,
No longer
appointment?
temporary, he
He's
was
been hired?
permanently hired today,
Oh, okay.
full-time.
Good.
Yep.
That's good to hear, so, full-time.
Michael
Stankov.
Stockoff. All right, so what we should do is officially incorporate him in our zoning enforcement part of it. So I'd make a motion that we appoint him as our zoning enforcement officer.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, so that's done. The other thing that's on our agenda is this Phil Doyle. Pam, can you just explain?
Sure, Castle Corporation will be transferring ownership of 80 South Main Street to Hartford Healthcare. And as such, they need a certificate of zoning compliance. There's a few variations with the site plan that, Phil Doyle, architect John Manners, and project manager Paul Duran had met with, town staff, Mark Melanson and myself, and reviewed those changes. Mark, long story short, asked them to come back before you and review the same discussion that they had with staff, and make sure that the commission finds that the changes that were made in the field are minor enough to not warrant a modification of a special permit. And they had done that, it's landscaping stuff for one reason or another, but have them come, and then that takes that's an easy, quick stop at planning and zoning.
Well, I think it ties the thing together and it makes it official, and then there's no misunderstanding
Yep.
of
Yeah,
somebody's
nice.
got a friend
I
somewhere.
see this last week, they put in new fencing right along the highway
Yeah.
road.
Phil Doyle does a very thorough,
Right,
detailed
yeah,
explanation
between the
of
sidewalk and the
exactly
building, they did that
Yes,
last
what's
week,
what,
which looks nice.
what
But-
was approved, what changed
Yeah.
in the field, and why.
So he's gonna bring that to us
He will.
Okay, that'll be good.
Yeah, and I'll let him know that, it's gonna be a long night, based on, the public hearing for the POCD.
Well, what we try to do is, when we say, put the agenda together, let's try to, either that or we'll make an amendment to the agenda, but, if
Or are you inclined to wanna meet it earlier at 6, or you don't wanna?
No, I don't
Right.
think that's gonna be a big, frankly.
Okay.
I mean, we've all probably been up on the site.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it looks like
Too many times.
they use riprap on the
Yes.
side toward the Sunoco station. That was
Yep.
originally gonna be
Yep.
landscaped.
Yep, and they had a failure, so,
And that would be a difficult slope to
Yeah, that's
maintain.
too much of a slope for
Yeah.
landscape.
And it's toward the back of the property, but everything else, the only thing seems to me they ought to put a color on that shed that's out by the heliport. I don't know why that wasn't, everything else is so
Yeah,
finished so
that- it would be
nicely, and
nice
that
if
looks
they
like
color-
an
colored that
afterthought
some.
that never was taken care of.
But I've been in it, I mean, that's all heated, that's got
Yeah.
fire extinguishers in there, and.
It looks like texture 111 on the
Yeah,
outside.
it is,
Why
it's
not-
exactly
why not
what it
just
is.
stain
I
it,
mean,
you know?
they spent millions on the building, and.
Yeah.
And
Looks like a
Several hundred
temporary,
on a shed.
temporary structure. I don't know. Well, we'll shame Phil into that.
Yep.
Okay, any other issues that anybody wants to bring up? Motion to adjourn, then is appropriate.
Not Craig, your turn, make the motion.
Okay. Craig's made it, and Peter's, I think he's gonna volunteer.
I'll
to
second it, sure.
All in favor?
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Charlene, do you have the paperwork, or you wanna, did you get from Pam, bylaws, the whole
Yes,
9 yards?
she gave me a packet, I had an extra heavy packet, because I got the regs, the legislative update,
Yeah,
the POCD, so I got
You got
it,
it,
she
okay.
gave me everything.
all right, thank you.
Plenty of reading to do now.
Well, I'm glad you're on.
Yep, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we used to pick on Lee, now we get to pick on you.